Welcome to this week's recap of your guys' session of Dragon Heist. At the beginning of last week's session, you guys decided to go through the neighborhood and question some of the neighbors and other individuals that were present when the blast occurred outside of your establishment. The first person that you talked to was Fala Lefelier. You know Fala as the proprietor of Corellin's Crown, the apothecary, right across the street from your guys' tavern. They tell you that they were watering plants in the greenhouse on the second floor of their shop when the blast blew out some of the windows. They said, "Lucky I wasn't injured. Through the smoke, I saw a cloaked man take something from the body of a dead gnome and then start limping away. He was badly burned, casting glances over his shoulder like he was afraid of someone or that someone might be following him. They said he was headed towards the Bent Nail." At that point, you guys went down to the Bent Nail and talked to Tally, the proprietor there. As you're talking to Tally, he tells you he really didn't see anything. Not a whole lot of information. You guys made some checks and you made some really high rolls on insight, and you were able to discern that he was probably being pretty truthful about not knowing what had occurred. You ended up purchasing, I believe it was a piece of wood art that was two swans, their heads connected and the necks arching around bodies, basically making a heart in between the two heads and their bodies. You had him come to the front of the shop so that you could see if he was limping, and he wasn't. So you decided that there wasn't a whole lot to be gained from talking to Tally anymore. A couple of you headed back to the tavern, and the rest of you continued on to question the individuals in the neighborhood. You find a halfling boy that happened to watch his friends just be incinerated. As the blast went off, he tells you that he ducked in behind a rain barrel, and then he heard a plop, and he looked in the rain barrel and pulled out this necklace. You guys saw that it was two little glass beads, deep fire red in these beads, and that he didn't want he didn't want anything to do with them. So he handed them over to you guys. Camille, through a successful Arcana check, recognized them as a necklace of fireballs. Camille had seen these weapons used in their past, and warned against the dangers that this necklace could bring. I believe Clayton ended up with the necklace, and then you guys continued to walk through the neighborhood, and a Waterdeepian noble came walking out of Vincent Trench's establishment. You guys know Vincent as the Keeper of Secrets in Waterdeep. he can find out any secret for a price, and you talk to her, and she tells you that she happened to see a figure, but it wasn't a man. She said it was more like a puppet, shaped like a man. A puppet without strings. It was on the rooftop. She said it hurled something into the crowd below that caused the explosion. She then told you she saw those halflings burned alive. It was terrible, and she also told you that the reason she was here with Vincent, she suspected that her husband was cheating on her. So she was employing Vincent to try and find her husband and what foul misdeeds he may be doing and whom he may be doing them with. As you guys continued to do your investigations, you decide to go to the rooftop across the street from your tavern to see if you were able to find anything, any signs, any footprints of what she may have seen. You guys, through some fairly decent checks, were able to ascertain that there was no sign of anything up there. So while she may have seen something, it left no traces. At this point, you guys decided to go to Blackstaff Keep, the home of Vajra. She is the leader of the Grey Hands and the Force Grey that you guys are a member of. You also see a picture now up of Martum Trek. He was the halfling boy that had given you the necklace of fireballs. You guys split the party. Some of you stay back at the inn to keep it guarded and decorate your rooms, and the rest of you make your way to Blackstaff Keep. There you talk to Vajra about the things that had occurred and that you would like to see about maybe having some of the Force Grey's clerics go and talk with the bodies of the dead. She tells you that this was possible and that you guys needed to come up with a list of questions to ask. You guys came up with, I think the final list of questions included any identifying features of the people that were following them. What was the, sorry, that was a joke question. What was the name of their band? Was it the Grateful Dead? I'm assuming that was the halfling children. So the questions you guys came up with: what features did you see of your attackers? What was happening up to your death? Who do you believe attacked you? Who was your leader? And who were your enemies? And you hand the list to the cleric, and Vajra tells you that it will take some time, but to expect answers to these questions by nightfall. You all make your way back to the bar, some of you going, doing some downtime activities. I believe Camille went to the forge, worked on some glass blowing, made a huge glass frog that is now for sale at the forge, and worked on improving his skills in being able to meld and manipulate the glass with arcane talents. I believe Vandus went to the bookstore and asked if there was any records of our building, the history of the place, and the proprietor at the bookstore told you that they didn't have any books there about it other than just, nothing that really pertained to the information that you were asking. They told you of some rumors that they had heard, but other than that, for official documents on the history of the building, they told you to check with the one of the guilds. That they would most likely, that would be your best option in being able to find the information that you were seeking. You guys go into the bar and are working on sprucing the place up, cleaning some. You guys have some interactions with Liff, your resident poltergeist friend, ghost, whatever you want to call him. Some hijinks were had. You found what seems to be a fairly efficient way to communicate and asked some questions. Lift basically told you that they were getting around to the idea of you guys being in the bar. You look like you were sprucing it up. And they also told you that they would like to stay if you guys were fine with it. You guys make your way through the bar. I believe Vandus's unseen servant and Liff got into a little bit of a tussle over the broom. Liff winning out and being able to get the cobwebs out of the corner. Night passes and the cleric that you've been expecting comes back and gives you some information on the questions that you had been seeking. The first couple of questions you got the answers for. You found out that the gnome that was clutching the dagger, his name was Dalakar. The gnome also, or the gnome cleric informed you that they were instructed to, one of the questions was to ask the names of the people that were murdered. One second. You see... One second, I am looking through this. Yes, so the gnome cleric, his name was Dalakar. He tells you that before he was on his way to you, he had stolen an artifact called the Stone of Golor from the lair of a beholder deep beneath the city, known as Xanathar. some other information that you found out was that he had worked for the Open Lord of Waterdeep. He says that the Open Lord of Waterdeep that you guys know was Lariel Silverhand, but when this question was asked of the gnome, he said Open Lord Neverember, which you guys know that Open Lord Neverember was the Open Lord before Lariel Silverhand. And Neverember, you guys helped save Rainier Neverember, so you would assume there would be some kind of relation there. He tells you that they found out the Stone of Golor is the key to finding a horde of dragons hidden beneath the city, somewhere in the city, and that Dalakar had heard about a group of adventurers who had rescued Lord Neverember's son from the Zhentarim, and he thought that the Stone of Golor would be safe in your hands. He was on his way to deliver it to you, planning to come back and reclaim it after he had eluded his pursuers, and that was about the time the fireball went off. That was all the more information you got from that individual. You then got answers from the other two individuals that seemed to be pursuing Dalakar. You find out their names were Bashik, or Talus, and Wern Malkgrave. The gnome tells you that they found out they worked for Erstal Floxen, and that they both resided at and worked out of Gralhund Villa. Their job was to hunt down this gnome named Dalakar. And all they were really told was that Dalakar had some kind of artifact in his possession that, according to Erstal Floxen, would make them as rich as kings. You guys did a little bit more research, asking around, and just some of your collective history of Waterdeep and some of the traditions that they have. You guys know that every year in the fall there is a parade called the Day of Wonders Parade. Different things happen during this parade, but you guys know that the figure that Jezrin, the Waterdavian noble, had described matches some of the automatons that are present in this parade. You guys ask around, and you find out that most of the automatons that are present either come from or have some kind of connection to a local temple of Gond, which is a deity. And you know that the name of the temple is the House of the Inspired Hands. That was about where we wrapped up last week. We had some issues with internet, Discord not cooperating very well, and just you guys weren't really able to hear me towards the end of the session. So hopefully this will be a nice recap to the events that happened, and I'm gonna hope to do something like this weekly for you guys, so that you will have a little more information, gives you a little bit of art to put with it, maybe some faces, some names, and if you guys ever have any questions, not quite sure what happened, that this video doesn't cover, always feel free to ask me at the beginning of a session. Message me on Discord, and I will be happy to answer any of your guys' questions. I will see you guys tonight, and we will continue our adventures in the huge town of Waterdeep. Thank you guys for playing with me, and I hope that we're able to continue this all the way through to level 20 with, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I'm hoping that's as far we can get that far with this campaign. You guys are a treat. I will be posting this on the Discord, and I will probably post it to YouTube as well. I'll get you guys my YouTube channel, but I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tonight at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 Mountain, and 4:30 Pacific. Thank you, and have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.